Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Bercaw,
And I'm Dr. Ginger Bercaw.
and we're both clinical psychologists and certified sex addiction therapists, or certified sex therapists, and we are co-founders of the California Center for Healing in Pasadena, California. One of the things that you should probably know is that we started our careers really with a focus on working with couples.
Right. We originally were sex therapists, and then we realized a lot of our couples just weren't getting better coming in for their very common sexual dysfunction issues. And what we realized is we needed additional training, and that's how we became CSATs. We kept meeting with couples who were struggling with sex addiction, and that's really how our model for SRT was born.
Ginger referred to SRT, that's sexual reintegration therapy. Sexual reintegration at its core is helping couples in sexual recovery to integrate healthy sexual intimacy with emotional intimacy. And our book, The Couple's Guide to Intimacy, focuses on that model. So it's always been so gratifying to us to know not just how many individuals and couples that we've helped with SRT and our books, but also how many families. And that really leads us to the next chapter of our professional lives.
Right. Because in addition to being psychologists and married psychologists, we're also parents. And so what is really primary on our mind a lot of the time is our children and how we can help them navigate the new world of just all around them technology.
That's right. So when our kids started to be around, they're 2 years apart, 5 years old, 7 years old, we started to notice their growing relationship with their tech devices, including how hard it was for them to put them down.
Right. Yes. How irritable they were when they had to be taken away.
How tuned out they were when they were one with their device. So we realized we didn't have any preparation for this. This was totally new. We didn't grow up with this kind of technology, and certainly our parents weren't available to offer us any guidance because they didn't really need to. It was just the TV and maybe some Atari.
Right.
Right? Video games?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So through looking for resources to help answer our questions, which included a lot of Googling, we realized that we were actually extremely fortunate to be surrounded by a group of experts.
That's right. So it's really the CSAT community, which grows out of the IITAP community, where so much of this expertise resides. But we should probably back up just a little bit, because more specifically, I think in our situation, some of the questions that I think a lot of parents can relate to, the ones that started coming up for us were, how do we handle certain situations? Should they be able to have, what age should they be able to have this device or that device, right? How long should they be able to stay on it?
Right. Should we put any type of monitoring on their device? Or should we just be having conversations with them about the things that concern us?
Exactly. What about when they go to a friend's house? What conversations do we need to be having with other people's parents? So we started talking to other parents, and we realized that we were all in the same boat. Everyone had a deep desire to really do right by their kids. Everyone really had it on their hearts to want to protect and guide and care for their kids in these new areas that really revolved around technology, but nobody really knew how. And it occurred to us that if this was a medical issue, medical issues or questions that we were having, we'd probably just go to WebMD, right? Type in our problem and get all of our information there. So the problem was there was no WebMD for these types of parenting issues, especially around technology.
Right. And that's how the Modern Parent Project was born, out of our deep desire to have a community for families and parents to access with their most pressing questions on how to help their children navigate many types of technology.
Exactly. We realized everyone wants this information, just like us, about how to keep up with their little techies. And that was actually the title of a talk that Ginger and I gave at our kids' elementary school a few months back. So a couple of things stood out from this talk. First of all, we told the story of a friend of ours, good family friends, a great family, where one of their children, a third grader, was looking at things on YouTube that no third grader should be looking at.
Right.
And where did she find out about it?
Well, she found out about it from having a sleepover with her third grade friends when they started looking up online pornography.
Exactly. So the parents are shocked, and it is shocking to hear. No one thinks of a third grade girl being exposed to that sort of thing, and certainly not the carryover effect where now the curiosity's been turned on,
Right.
and she's actively searching for it herself.
Right.
So we tell this story to the audience, and we look out and we saw a bunch of really just stunned, can't believe it faces. So we asked the audience, is this more than what you signed up for tonight? It sounds like a nice little talk about keeping up with your little techies. Yes, the heads started nodding.
Right.
Yeah.
But they also realized that this was information they needed, because this is what our children are facing all the time. Because now so many of our kids have little computers in their pockets with them everywhere they go, our cell phones. And when you have that kind of access to technology, you can look up anything in a matter of seconds.
Right. So when we developed this Modern Parent Project, we had to come up with what are really these topics that are the highest value to parents. So we've organized our Modern Parent Project around these topics, so we have a community of experts around each topic. And probably at or near the top of most people's lists is online pornography. Okay, so everyone's aware that it's out there. I think parents are surprised at how easy it is to access. And sometimes a good question to ask is why they would even access it, why they would search it out in the first place.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely, but what we need to remember is it's very natural for children to be curious about their sexuality. We're born sexual beings, and so as they are moving into adolescence, which really starts around 8 or 9 for girls, 9 or 10 for boys, those are really the times that children are first starting to access pornography, because they have basic questions that a lot of parents aren't sure how to talk to them about, or even the right timing of it.
That's right. So a typical scenario is you've got a young kid, it might be an elementary school kid, it might be an early adolescent, who has this curiosity, who has these unanswered questions in their mind, and instead of having an awkward conversation with mom or dad, they go to that little computer in their pocket, or they go to their laptop or their desktop, and they Google whatever it is that they're curious about.
Right.
And then Lord knows what they're going to find. So kids are getting their sex ed in that way, whether they're looking for sex ed or they're looking for porn. That does become their de facto sex ed. And what is it that they're learning then about sex and sexuality?
Right.
They're learning that it's violent. They're learning that it's disconnected